$1,000.
Carrie, you're on.
Okay, call the meeting to order. The first item of business is municipal baseball facility ownership and update plan. And we have a copy of it here. It comes to about $1 trillion, but we can get it through, I think.
Yeah.
So what do you want?
So
How do you want to
what
start this, Chris?
So what I've provided was the back 2 pages are what I sent to the entire board at the previous meeting.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's just as a
Yeah,
reference.
this is the first time I've seen it.
Yep. So that as a reference, that's what that looked like. It was all laid out as far as what it is, the useful life, the condition, the cost, and things of that nature. And so at a glance, I did my best with the spreadsheet to put it in a spreadsheet format so you can look at it at a glance.
Yeah, this is real good, Chris. This is really a good.
And the item that the board wanted to see was where you see B&G budget on the spreadsheet, and then it says capital expense budget. So what I could normally handle, like year in and year out, there's only a couple items there: the public address system, fencing, and the bleachers. And let me talk about the bleachers for a minute. And then the other one is the capital expense budget, which means it's big enough that I couldn't take it under my normal budget. We'd have to find other means, district means to support that.
What needs to be done with the bleachers? Are they gonna replace them or just paint?
Well, I'm gonna have them reviewed by a bleacher inspection company, and of course they sell bleachers too.
Yeah, of course they do.
Yep, and so, but they will give me a rundown on what that looks like. And I've used 2 different ones in the past. And so we'll look at that. And I talked to 2 different people that have put new baseball bleachers in their facilities. One is at Kewaskum. And then the city provided me their quote when they looked at, what they've done with the Citizens Park baseball or softball complex. And I got quotes between 13 and 15,000 for a 10 bleacher seating thing.
Right.
And there's 4 of them out at there's 2 on the first base side, 2 on the third base side,
Right.
off of the home plate.
Right.
And I talked to Angela about this, and one of the things that school districts can do, because our school budget year starts July 1st, is I would plan, possibly, but this is yet to be solidified, but one strategy would be buy $30,000, 2 sets before July 1st in one budget year. July 1st is the next budget year, and then buy the other 2. Or we buy one year and one on a year later.
Yeah, sure.
So there's some options and some flexibility to try to do what we can to do that. And that'll be primarily based on what the bleacher inspection looks like. I know they're old. I don't know if exactly, but those would probably be 1 or 2 years just by the age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're pretty old. They've been there a while, and I'm not anticipating them to be something that we would hang on for another 8 or 9 years. I think it would probably be 1 or 2 or 3 years at, so that for the bleachers, that would be the one thing that, I wanted to provide you a little bit more explanation on. The public address system.
We can probably get away with the ones we got for a little bit.
Right? Yeah, but I don't. There's nothing that when you shake them or walk on them or sit on them that something seems unstable.
Well, we could get to the turn of the fiscal year if you did that where you split it between the 2 fiscal years. That'd probably be, if it's necessary.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah, that's a strategy that we employ when it's a bigger bite. Because remember, my budget is around $350,000 that's not encumbered.
Right.
And now that might be a little bit less because of inflation with things. And so I'm kind of cautiously moving through this school year, to see how inflation is hitting our operational expenses. And, if Angela has a windfall with, whatever might be coming in less budgeted,
Right.
and sometimes when we renegotiate insurances, sometimes there's a pocket of money that said, hey, we're doing good. But that would be something that, isn't right now in front of us, but
So the parking lot is not used exclusively by the baseball program.
that's correct.
So is there a way of splitting that in the budget?
Well, the condition that it is in now
Yeah, it's pretty crap.
would be tough to try to split up. It's all uniformly fair.
No, but I mean, well, I guess the money's the money, and if it's in the athletic director's budget.
That wouldn't be in the athletic director budget. That would be in buildings and grounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that would have to be more of a capital expense.
But I mean, it's used as much for people that are spectators of the football program as it is.
Yeah, it's also people, I'm not sure what company is on the west side of 23rd Street.
Oh, yeah.
I think employees park there as well.
Well, they may
walking
want
across
to
the street.
contribute to the paving.
Yeah, and they use it for the community for, I think, parades, and I think Ron Colley uses it for something that I just got, it's new to me, but Ron Colley reached out and said, oh, remember, we're gonna be doing this. I said, oh, that's right, yep, thank you. And so there's other uses that, in addition to baseball.
400,000 though is kind of a big.
Yeah, between 300 and 400.
So can we look into maybe getting an estimate for just pothole filling, kind of safety hazard, a little bit of repairs on the parking lot?
That has failed beyond repair.
Really?
There's so much alligatoring and other things like that. There's some areas that are decent, but this should be like an overlay where it wouldn't be, 300 on the low end.
Yeah, 300.
I don't know that we would put, there's no real potholes out there. It's all in pretty uniform condition. But we could look, I don't know how we would split it up to say this area is worse. Let's just patch this. Because I've asked the city about that and they said,
It's your problem.
well, part of that, but yeah, it actually that's fared pretty well for as long as it's been and how little they've done to it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we could certainly look into that.
What I'm concerned is, could we do an overlay on some of it, or do we want to just rip it all out and now try to do a rebase? I mean, this has essentially been like this for 30 years,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, I can understand, like, it's way past its useful life. However, budgeting, $300,000 or $400,000 for that, I think that's probably not where we want to be putting our investment right now.
Well, yeah.
On a parking lot that, is only full, but I understand the importance of it, I do. It just, maybe that would have to be something we want to put into a long-term capital improvement.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Can I talk about a few things about the fencing repairs? I think that's something that, we could, kind of facilitate without having to try to, gain support from the community or something like that. But I think that would get a big payoff right away, from the eyes of the program. I think they would really enjoy that things are, moving forward with the improvement in a relatively low expense. Just to, if you have to pound them down because of the heaving or just repairs in general. And then obviously the bleachers, we could, kind of task, between Stan and Bruce to kind of say, hey, let's get a kind of a community effort, or let's do some fundraising to try to get, towards the bleachers and towards the scoreboard. I think they're on their way already with the scoreboard, just so as everybody's aware. I think the fundraising is going very well. So that's a good thing to hear. I think that's something that with the bleachers, we could that could be something that we could have a focus on as a group, as a district, to say, hey, let's let's start investing in the long term of the bleachers, and maybe do we want to do the exact configuration? Maybe you want Bruce to say, hey, could we do it a little differently to save a little money, maybe instead of 4? Because I mean, like, I understand it does fill up once in a sectional final game if it would be there, but there's a lot of other seating in some other places. And
Maybe we go to a 7 versus a 10.
I'm saying like maybe we let Bruce have his input on that, and if we could save money. If it's a grander idea, well then maybe we still think about it, but maybe we can do it, so instead of just replacing this exact same way, maybe we do it a little bit smaller.
Okay,
That's an idea. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's what I want. I'm saying
explore that.
with Bruce and see if he
Yeah.
likes that idea, or if we can maneuver, and then we can kind of try to fundraise for that through the booster club or through the athletic department.
I would just scoreboard and bleachers would be the easiest things to raise money for.
Yep, and
I mean, people are, I mean, there's no sex appeal in paving the parking lot.
But that's why, like, I think the fencing, from a district standpoint, like, we could put that on our radar. Let's get, I know it's a low priority, but it's actually a big complainer. Like, everybody likes to complain about balls going underneath the fence and stuff like that. Like, the program would really, really enjoy improvement on that. I know it's a small
that's
thing,
good.
but
No, that's a big,
they would be very happy, I believe, seeing improvements of the fence.
Yeah.
Now, the parking lot, like, I understand it's in disarray and it's old. If we can prevent a safety hazard, let's do that. But that's kind of like pie in the sky in my mind at this point because of our priorities.
Right.
Okay, so that's kind of my vision of it. Do you have?
yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think, I would like to have it be, you know, a divided project that,
Well, you made a
between
good point about the
fundraising-
football, in the football program for the parking lot. That's long term, sorry.
yeah, no,
Okay, is that done?
no, well, I really would like to see the fundraising. I'd also like to see a policy that rents out the place so that we get some kind of fee for
Yeah.
people who use it. Just because, I mean, all of this stuff is,
We could make a fee for the improvements of the field, you know, like we could directly tie, you know, like say that that's what the fee is for, the direct improvements of the facility, you know?
That's true.
That
would be acceptable usually. I mean,
I don't, well, you can think about it, Chris, how you wanna, you know, toss it around, but, if you wanna make it a general fee for all facilities, or if it's just per, you know, I don't know, think about it, I can see what the
Yeah.
other school districts have done.
Yeah, I'm still crunching data from other people and I'm probably gonna borrow or steal what they've done and
Sure.
present it. And
I mean, UW Manitowoc, we rented the gym to Silver Lake for years and to other people too. And I don't know what, you know, I don't know for sure what kind of fees we charge, but the people out there may be able to help on that sort of.
Sure, yeah. And thanks for that feedback and information, and I can tell you that we have in our, I guess, anticipating that we were going to own this facility, and this was back when Dave Stevepak was athletic director, and Bruce and I met with Mark Holzman, and we said, let's forge out kind of a system approach to this facility.
Exactly.
So-
That's good.
And
That's a good
so
strategy.
you'll hear me say, put it to bed, which is winterize it. What does that task list look like for winterizing it this time of year? Because spring is so short and we don't want to go there realizing, oh, this drag should have been welded
Oh, yeah.
during, January,
Right.
February. And so we take inventory of what we've got there, plan for repairs on anything that we need to repair. The athletic director and I would walk through, and the coach is always very involved, so he would be part of it as well. Looking around to see what kind of conditions the building's in. Are there any damages and repairs that we need to make? Do the doors all operate? You know, just all of those kinds of things. And then we look at the bigger scale things like some of these capital improvement things. Now you notice in here, I didn't put the consumables like I have in the other document because it's really not a capital investment or
Yeah,
capital
right,
improvement, it's
yeah.
an operational cost.
Yeah.
But we
but
do
still,
have those there, just so you're aware.
Okay,
And for this conversation, we're annually planning for those expenses to be there, whether it's chalk or Diamond Dry and things of that nature.
So speaking about that stuff, could you look into some things, because I know the prices of like disposal, like you have allotted $150 a month. Can, like, if you shop around a little bit, I think the going rate is some like 6-yard dumpsters you get for $75 a month. So maybe like go back and try to pick apart that, because we could save money on that right off the bat, because that really isn't used. We only use that facility like 6 months out of the year, actually. So like having that dumpster sit there and then paying 150 is too much, first of all.
Right.
And then if we should be paying, we could be paying about 80 with the fees and
for
everything.
what?
Dumpsters. So it says
Oh, the dumpster.
just
yeah.
garbage disposal,
Yeah,
$1,800 a year. So I'm just talking about how so you could save a couple grand.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then the weed and feed here, you've allotted $2 to $4 grand, and obviously that's not the labor, and that's just the field. And
That's the service. That's
And-
like Chris
but-
Hutchinson to come and,
that's where like
Yeah.
your big point is that you train employees to get certified to be pesticide applicators, correct?
this spring they'll all be,
So that means you
Well, they
could need
will.
all of them. We just need one of them.
well, we need all of them.
Well,
Yeah.
whoever's applying could be doing this, and we could be saving
Right.
another $1,500 a year easily by having one of our own employees do the weed and feed, a 4-step weed and feed, or a 4-step process, or 3 even. And then the spot, weed killing, we could be easily doing this and saving another, I would say, almost $2 grand. Because you don't pull the labor out of that, so it's just the materials. So between
Yeah.
weed and feed and garbage, I could see us saving about $3,000 on yearly expenses with municipal fuel alone, realistically.
But we don't use, thank you for those comments, we don't use a dumpster there.
Okay, so.
We use the 96 totes.
Okay,
And the reason for that, and Coach and I worked through the logistics, the way the city did it, we can't operate like the city because they have their own garbage truck. So we talked with Pizorski to give us totes, and I asked Coach, help me logistically figure this out, because the city would come with their garbage truck and you just empty them in there.
Sure.
If we had a dumpster, we need something to get we'd have to ask someone to go over there and dump the stuff that's in the dugouts and some of those areas in addition to my staff.
Yep.
So, Bruce and I talked about it, and Dave Stepek was involved a little bit with that, but mostly Stan. But Coach and I talked about how that would work best, and he said, if you get 4 96-gallon totes, we'll fill them up, they're on wheels, we put them outside, and then Pizorski will come once or twice a week to pick up and dump them as needed. So we
Yeah.
can certainly skin this cat many different ways.
what I'm saying is, okay, that's fine. I'm saying it's still $150 a month. And if we wanted to save a little bit of money, it would take a little bit more labor or a little bit of sweat equity from the players or the coaches, and we have 4 receptacles, and then we have to throw the bags in the 7-yard dumpster out in the front of the building. That's one idea. I'm not saying that that's the perfect idea. I'm just trying to kick it out
Sure,
of the ground.
sure,
So
yeah.
If that's what he wanted to do, that's understandable. It just, are we paying that all winter long too?
No, we get
Well,
rid of them as soon as we're done.
So then we're really getting hosed if we're paying for a service for 6 months and it's $1,800.
Well,
So that's my opinion.
That's $300 a month.
18, well, yeah, because of 6 months instead of, I did it by 12 and then it's 150, but if you do it for 6 months of service, that's $300 a month.
Yeah.
That's really bad.
well, this isn't an actual cost.
Oh,
This
what is this?
this is an estimate, because I know what we spend for a partial,
Sure,
and then this next year will be all ours.
sure. And maybe
And-
this is an estimate.
And this
right?
is an estimate,
Okay,
and I didn't know if their prices were gonna go up. So yeah, it is an estimate, and I can certainly come back with a firm cost
Sure.
to tell you what that is, but for budgeting purposes, that's a placeholder.
I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah, no, I
save money where you
appreciate it.
can with no effort.
So, in terms of the board, the last note you have on here is like, let's move forward. I mean, they did ask for,
We did that already.
Yeah.
oh, you did that already?
Yep,
Yeah.
we're done. We're good.
Oh,
So we approved it with a plan, an action plan for improvement, which this is kind of that. So
Yep.
he's doing exactly what I asked him to do right now.
okay.
So we passed it with board approval to purchase or to transfer the property with an action plan moving forward.
Oh, that's all in the back
Yeah.
now? Oh,
The,
that's
the
good.
piece I didn't have at the last meeting was what could be covered under the buildings and grounds budget and what would be considered a capital budget that I wouldn't be able to cover the cost for.
Yeah, that's good.
Those are the two pieces of information that weren't provided at the last meeting, and that's what this update's for.
And this is,
So to summarize, the
Yeah.
bleachers are not covered in the buildings and grounds budget.
They are, bleachers are, fencing repairs are, and public address system.
Okay,
And then
so,
the capital expense budget, the lights would be parking lot and fencing replacement. And let me just talk just a second about the bleachers and PA system.
Yep.
I know that we're kicking around the idea of doing a bigger bricks and mortar referendum at maybe some point in time in the future. And if the timing is such where, we do that in 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years, and we have other ideas of doing different things like the Rubik concession stand, or maybe that maybe we wrap something like that in there too, in a bigger enchilada.
yeah.
And if we don't, then I would put it in my budget to do. So
Um,
that's what those notes are potentially, depending on the timing. That's what that means. So
So if it's already been voted to move ahead, what's the utility of our discussion now?
I guess he's just breaking out, what needs to be
They
done.
didn't receive these.
they did. They received the pros
Okay,
here, but they didn't receive the table. So
okay,
at Tuesday's meeting, the board will get the table,
okay.
and you can just say, Chris came back with the 2 pieces of
So it's a report,
information.
it's not an action item, right?
Right, it's not an action item.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm just gonna, last thing I'll say about this is, maybe could you think about if we could get public support for that bleachers, we could kind of shift some of the money out of your budget for buildings and grounds?
You mean private support?
Yes, because of it being a public thing,
Mhm.
the PR of supporting the bleachers could be more easily funded than a PA system. So that's all I'm saying.
Sure.
If you could,
PA system isn't very expensive though.
no, but
Yeah, it depends on what kind of bells and whistles you have on it, but yeah.
I'm just saying maybe there's community support for an updated bleachers.
We could do-
If
we
we
could
ask,
see it
if
for-
nobody says, no, yeah, well, then we just put it in the budget, but I'm saying, if there is community support of it, maybe we just accept the community support. That's what I'm saying, like,
Yeah,
that's an
right,
action
right.
item to be able to
Yeah,
gain
exactly
support
right.
for.
Yeah.
Just
I
like
mean,
the scoreboard.
Sea Haver would get a lot of good publicity by contributing to the public address system. wouldn't it?
Yeah, but you're right, but like you said, it's something small, but that's a perfect example, Gary, of something else that if we could get,
Yeah.
I mean, that's great.
So the shakers and movers are coach,
It's always- yeah, it's
coach
always-
and Stan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me just kind of tell you where we're at with the process. So the process was, in order to kick the process off, we presented that letter. We talked about that letter when we met at the baseball field.
And I went to the city.
And that letter basically says, the Manitowoc Public School District understands that there's contingencies with accepting ownership that the city wants to give us.
Right.
We understand that we have to follow these contingencies. We're willing to do that. The city is going to send that to 2 entities, government entities, the Wisconsin DNR,
Right.
and then the national US, I think it's Park Service.
Oh,
So right now, and the letter's been sent to the city, and we had conversations in the last week with the city about what do you think, how long do you think this will take?
oh, yeah.
What can you tell us? And they said, well, we will try to find out, but right now we don't know how long it would take. The DNR, they
not gonna
anticipate to
take.
have a lot sooner because it's local and it's DNR. They have no idea how long the federal government might take to be able to say, yep, our reviewing committee reviewed it and we approve you to deed over this land to the new landowner that accepts these responsibilities. That's really where we're at right now.
That just makes it official.
Yeah, yep. And so until they
It
get
confirms
the
what's
approval
already
from
in reality.
those two governmental agencies, we're gonna wait for that, and then the city will work with us on a quick deed. So step number one has been taken. We're waiting for the return approval from the two agencies, and then we'll do that. So when I met, and just last week, I met with Bruce Steinbecker and Stan Dietrich, and we met about the winterization. We met about some of the things, and the topic was, where are we at with the process? And I said, well, this is what the process looks like. We don't know how long this would take. And so Coach was kind of going, oh man, he said, what I really want to be able to do is I got parents that are all excited now. And I said, well, that's good. He says, and then we're wanting to, when will the school announce that it's our property? And I
Oh,
said-
yeah.
And I
You don't
said,
wanna-
well,
you don't want to announce it
well,
before it's ratified.
we really can't do that until we have the deed and we
That's
finalize
right,
it.
yeah, that's right.
And he says, so the problem I have is we want to start fundraising for turf infield. And I said, okay. I said,
It's
I'm
a little
not,
bit of a cart.
I don't, yeah, I don't know what you're,
Yes.
yeah, so they're very excited, which is great. I mean, this is really
Yeah,
a
I'm
good
glad
thing
you're
for them.
excited. Just like,
I would just
You
make
know,
sure that
slow
they
it down a
explain
little.
exactly where we're at in the process.
Well, and so then they were asking about, okay, so that's fine. That kind of, Coach said that kind of slows us down a little bit. But that is something we want to know. And he says, are we doing a big bricks and mortar referendum? And I said, well,
not now.
not now. We're talking about
This
it.
guy's
It's kind of in the
building it.
works. It's kind of in the discussions. I don't know when we might commit to something like that. And he says, okay. And he goes, well, I might reach out to some people. And I think he mentioned you. If he hasn't talked to you, he will. So I just want to give you a heads up that the
Sure.
conversation with Bruce is he wants to start fundraising for something big. And I don't know when the plans might come together. He says that could take a couple of years.
A couple, yeah.
Well,
A couple,
for them
I
to
would-
fundraise,
Yeah, sure. I
fundraise
would
that
say a
kind of
couple,
money.
You know,
So.
has he ever fundraised before?
Yeah, he was involved heavily with the Citizens Park softball.
Oh. okay,
Yeah, he was
okay.
part of that,
All
yeah.
right, good.
So he certainly has the knowledge and experience of how to do that.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I just want to make you aware
The
that
only thing
there's really excitement about that, and they're excited and they're very eager to start doing something. And I said, boy, you better talk to Angela about some of the, how do you do that if there's any finance questions? And people would say, well, I can't quite, rather than try to depict what Coach was talking about, I don't understand all the things he was saying about some of the corporations need to know if it's our property. And that is really important thing. So, there to be continued, I
No, the
guess.
answer to that is
We'll have to wait.
yet to happen.
We'll have to wait.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we should try to, take the people who are doing the ratification of this for granted. They're gonna say, well, screw you, you
Yeah.
think you,
I don't
see
I don't see it happening any other way.
what,
I'm sure it'll get approved.
Yeah,
it'll probably get approved.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
it'll probably
think it's a formality as well.
Chris, the only thing I could think of that could help him and help the idea is,
Mhm.
would the city be willing to sign a transfer agreement or something of the property? And then it's a little bit more of
Yeah,
something that we can make an announcement.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's needed. I'm just
You
saying,
can just let them know it's for fundraising purposes.
yeah, but I understand what you're saying completely. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
The board approved it. Now we're waiting on them. But to capitalize on the energy is something as well. And if the city,
Right.
the city would be willing to say, hey, yeah, we're going to give it to you. It sounds good.
yeah,
here's the agreement that we're gonna try to give it to you, pending the DNR.
Right. And I know that Stan, I think Stan's brother is financial guy.
Yeah, you might be able to.
And I think he was talking about, well, there might be some other ways we can have corporations maybe go through the foundation and earmark things that way. And there's a lot of conversations about different options. So my purpose is just to kind of let you know that there's excitement, which is good. And,
Well, it would absolutely have to go through the foundation, right? Otherwise.
well, yeah, that for me is something that I'm out of my wheelhouse on
Yeah.
and
well,
understanding
Angela
it.
would-
That would be
yeah,
Angela,
would handle that.
you know, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't raise funds without without a designated. I mean, I was president of the library board when we built the library, and we wanted to start a foundation too, and it's just a separate and distinct thing altogether. Separate board of directors, separate everything. Otherwise, nobody gets the tax write-off.
Right, so I know what I don't know, and I don't know a lot about all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff. But I'm excited that there's, people excited about it and there's interest, and so that's all positive and good. So I want you to be aware of that process of where we're at. Don't know the timeline right now.
But you want to make fundraisers feel pretty secure.
Right, absolutely, right.
About what they're doing.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, so I appreciate your feedback and time on that. I made some notes, and
Yeah,
we'll look into some of these things.
pretty.
There was one other thing on the agenda.
Yeah, yep, and this is just gonna be real quick, so, I did get, so our pool project at Lincoln High School, we were waiting for a variable freak drive for a pump that does
Oh, yeah.
the water. That was anticipated to come in, back ordered in sometime late January. We got it about 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago or so. That's since been installed, I think this last Monday or this Monday. And so they've verified it's working. They hooked it up to a controller system. And so now that is all done. So the project, we're not waiting for any more pieces and parts. The last three things we're doing are verifying some of the measurements to make sure that they're reading accurately. Then the commissioning will take place, and then owner training.
Okay.
So
So what with this new piece, somebody complained about the humidity in there or something like that. Is that
we had issues.
Is
Yeah,
that-
we certainly had some.
is that going to be?
That's
Yeah.
been
That's been
handled.
taken care of.
Yeah, that's been handled
So now
a couple days after we found out it was going
The
on.
piece you got, the part you got now is just the whole thing is up.
Yeah, what this part is doing is instead of having a constant volume of a pump pumping water,
Yeah.
that volume pump is running full tilt, and we don't need it running full tilt when there's no one in the pool.
Right.
So it'll slow down
Oh yeah, that's
and
good.
save energy.
Yeah.
And when the